really excited to talk about the AI, and, really impart a lot of the knowledge that you provide in terms of really how we can utilize AI to be more efficient in running businesses, and also kind of a broad overview of what some of those platforms are based on your recommendation. And then I do want to address a couple of other things, but let's have you introduce yourself and give us sort of your background and how you landed in doing what it is that you're doing.
All right. Well, I'm Ryan Pettigrew, and I have done many years in cannabis and eventually got out and started building my own AI system for real estate investing until I realized that AI pretty much is going to eliminate the software platform. So it's no point in even raising money on it. And in that process, I've learned so much about AI that businesses were starting to recruit me, telling me how much of a need they had in terms of implementing it into their business. So as that developed more and more and more, I decided to smarten up and maneuver into that. And now I've, got clients and really starting to understand the needs and enjoying this a lot more in terms of helping businesses succeed with AI. So that's pretty much my story.
Cool. Hi, Heather. That's great. So, a couple things before we really dive in. Have been having a few conversations, and this is a little bit more philosophical and esoteric than the actual meat and bones of what we'll be talking about today. But I think that there's a lot of conversation around AI, obviously, in this day and age and in this world. And part of those conversations tend to be, AI is taking away our ability to think in a specific structure, our ability to have common sense, and that as we start to become more familiar with AI and use AI, that we end up relying on it more than we probably should. And so I have my own personal feelings and philosophies about that. I'd love to turn that question over to you and sort of get your take on it, because you work with so many people specifically in this field. What has your experience been in terms of a lot of that backlash of that, we are turning into mush in our own brains?
Actually, that's perfect, because one of the things I was really struggling with is where do you begin in talking about AI? Because everyone is always talking about this tool's magical, this tool, this, and fear-mongering this and fear-mongering that. And what I really decided on was the whole beginning of this was going to be on the philosophical aspect of why AI is so important. Mm-hmm. And so that's the beginning part. But to specifically touch on what you said, in this, I mentioned that AI is an amplifier. So if you're coming in to be lazy, AI is just going to help you be lazier. But if you're coming in to increase your outputs and be better, AI is going to help you be better. So it's really what you're coming in to do. And unfortunately, we live in a society where I think that thinking and common sense and those things are very rare anyways. I'm a little careful in how I'm saying that, but
yeah,
I mean, in the business world, this is more important to highlight, is we can't just go through our day brainwashed and lacking common sense and not thinking. That just doesn't work for business owners. And so it really helps us in terms of how to communicate, because communicating with AI is very important and one of the main mistakes. So it helps us with our communication, and also it helps us with the thinking. Yes, sure, we use it to help think, but you have to think to use it correctly in order to think. So personally, I think for business people that are having to use these skills anyways, we have to think and communicate. It's really just helping us. Now, for the most of the world, yeah, sure, it's going to probably cause a lot of problems for people who don't want to think. So I can see those arguments, but for us, we don't have that. I mean, we're not allowed to be lazy and lack communication and not think critically.
Well, and I think, there's part of those conversations that I've had also are when you look back over the history of invention and you look at, the telephone and what was, oh my God, we're going to lose, blah, 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 whatever it is. I think that innovation at its newness creates fear because people don't understand it or know what the impact is ultimately going to be. And, I am a big believer in adapt or die. So,
Absolutely.
it's like, yes, you can argue the point. Yes, you can bring up all of the reasons why these tools are bad or remove our critical thinking skills or whatever they are. But the reality is they're going to be here to stay. And we are at such a early stage of it that we don't know how these tools are going to alter the way that we do everything in our lives. And so I'm a I'm a big jump on the bandwagon, adapt or die, like learn how to make this work for you.
See, they're going to think that we planned this actually. They have no idea that you just said you just brought in like the entire beginning of my
Oh,
presentation is I think it's critical information to understand where we are in innovation and our new business era moving forward. Without understanding that, most people are going to miss the opportunity that we're really faced with. And so that's actually hilarious because that's the main focus of the entire beginning of this.
oh, that's great. Well, I mean, so let me stop talking.
Oh, well, you did a great. They're honestly you're gonna laugh when you see this because this is like literally leads directly to that. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. And we will go to this page. All right. There we are. Okay. So where we were talking about and we already got into is like, where do you even start? Because there's so much information on AI, and I really wanted to hit this on a beginning level, but the most important part of the beginning level is why this freaking matters. And so like we're honestly, and for people who aren't afraid of every bit of new information they get, this is the biggest opportunity we've ever had in our lives. And I really want to touch on that point before even getting into AI basics. And so let's see, is that coming in good for everyone?
Yeah, I can see
Okay,
it.
cool. All right. So I put this together, this is why I started laughing when you're talking about this is exactly like something I've been thinking about for quite a while. And these are our major industrial revolutions. This one here was a steam. This is electrical. This is computers. This is internet and not internet. It's AI and basic compute or AI and social media. And now we're in AI human collaboration. And if you look at what's important about this is these are the years that these started. You had 110 years between this one, 90 here, 56 here, 4 here. And that's very important because in each of those time periods, you had innovation happened, industries adjusted over a long period of time, and that was a new way of life. But it was, I mean, think about 110 years, that's for a lifetime. People live this whole area, and same here. And now we're getting to the point of, I call it continuous disruption. Another important point on this slide is this 110 number. This was the average length of corporations. We're at 15 years now. I mean, it's adapt or die, exactly like you said. And one of the things I say is Darwin's theory of evolution, the ability to adapt as being the number one trait for evolution is actually, it relates to business now, because this next slide here, we are now in a state of continuous disruption. That's business for now on, is that and how I define that is basically the state of innovation happens faster than industries can adjust. I mean, we're at 4 years now, but actually every 6 months, AI is doubling in capacity and nobody can adapt. I mean, even the AI specialists can't even really keep up all the way to that level. So it gives an extreme advantage to the most agile companies, those that are paying attention to what matters and constantly learning. Where I put in, and I give this as a visual, the larger the company, the less agile they are. So people always think that large corporations have the best advantages because they have all the money to run over everybody. But in this case, I think that small businesses have the advantage because they're more agile. They have less moving pieces, less red tape. And I kind of look at large corporations almost as the government. We know how efficient they are. So I think personally that small businesses are at a huge advantage. And even Sam Altman from OpenAI, is the CEO of OpenAI, which is ChatGPT, has said in the near future, we're going to have our first $1 billion solopreneurship. One person with $1 billion company. I mean, that's incredible just by leveraging AI appropriately. So that was kind of what I wanted to focus at on the beginning, is because I think people get discouraged when they always think big business can run them over, when really this is all an advantage of small business. Small businesses can be more agile, adapt faster, and continually capture market share. And so I think that's vital information. The number one thing to know about AI, because we overthink it so much, it's just another tool. And, power tools probably seemed as crazy as AI when they came out. The computer itself. Remember, we're all old enough to remember the internet when it came out. How many businesses during the internet age were arguing, oh, that's pointless. That's pointless. Well, Blockbuster Video is not here anymore. And so it's literally all the same thing. Is you just learn the new tool, you learn to adjust and use it, and you move forward in your business. Another point that I already said is, AI is an amplifier. Whatever you put into it, it's going to magnify. So you heard of the term AI slop. I'm sure everyone's heard about it, and everyone's tired of the stupid AI videos all over social media. And, you have those that are like, oh, we need to ban AI. AI is trash. Well, really what it's doing, it's separating the people that are do good work from bad work. If you do real lazy work, you're going to fit into a category that's so blown out of proportion and annoys so many people that you're going to get drowned out. But if you do good work, this is your opportunity to really shine, because people are going to be really tired of all the nonsense going on. So AI when they say that it can 10x your outputs, they're not joking. It's just you have to be careful to really do it right. Do clean work, because it's garbage in, garbage out. And that applies to many things in business, but especially the case here because it's such an amplifier. When we're talking about AI tools, the top three that you really think about is ChatGPT, Gemini, and Claude. And those are your large language models that are your top dogs that are going to make it no matter what. I use them all for different things. And honestly, I always have to just keep up. I watch weekly videos on what's best at what, because every week they're pushing forward and releasing new tools that what's true one week about what's the best may not be true the next week. It started out that I would use ChatGPT for almost anything. And now it's the third, and it's the third place of what I use. I really only use it when I run out of tokens on my other two, because I don't want to spend the $100 or $200 per, to have unlimited stuff. So I use ChatGPT just to do deep research or, organize some of my thoughts. Whereas the other two is what I use the most. I use Gemini because I use Google Workspace for most of my stuff. It is the best for analyzing docs because it has a high context window. So anytime you need to, and when you're analyzing PDFs or JPEG images or really anything, or even docs, those take up the most context window. So the others will shorten out quicker, so you won't get quite, it won't even analyze the full document as well as Google Gemini. Hands down, that's the best to use for that. And I honestly don't think that'll change over the long term because of the Google platform itself. The other thing that I really use Google Gemini for is image creation with Nano Banana 2. So those two things are by far the best with Google Gemini. Now Claude is becoming my favorite for everything else. You know, I got the Claude co-work. I'm really learning that. But anything to do with writing, and I honestly think they're in the, and this is going to get into a more advanced stuff, so I'll just keep this brief. But I think Claude is going to be the future in terms of the way they're structuring their files instead of GPTs. I think is going to be the future. So I spend a lot of time with Claude. But really what's most important is that you always pay attention to what's the best. And I'll give you a place to find that information here at the end. But there's those. So now, again, I kind of skipped ahead. But this is kind of what I use ChatGPT and Gemini and my Claude for. Now, secondary tools, and I kept this beginner level because even though I love Lovable, you know, you really got me into that one. I don't feel like it's such a beginner tool to even discuss right now. So I wanted to really focus on Notebook LM and Perplexity. Perplexity has the potential to be one of those that gets voted off the island as these tools keep developing. But right now, when I don't want to confuse all my chats, I use Perplexity for researching the internet. And because it will bring me only accurate information directly from source sites, I use it for a lot of that. And then I don't really care about how much like junk chats I have there. Because that's another thing, when you're using it so much, organizing your chats are important. So I use Perplexity mostly for that. And Notebook LM is a Google tool. And so, for example, I made this presentation with that. But what's so cool about Notebook LM is you can teach yourself any skill. You can create so much content, whether it's presentations or infographics, or I mean, even videos, podcast videos, anything that you, just by doing the research and then having it create. So like, this is one of those tools that I think is most valuable for beginners to really learn it because of what it can do without a lot of knowledge. Plus there's so many videos on YouTube as well. Here, let's see.
Can I ask, so really quickly with Perplexity, from what I understand of Perplexity is that it aggregates all of the it aggregates all of those tools, ChatGPT, Claude, all of the other ones, Gemini, and it does the research based on sourced sites. But if you, I mean, you could use Perplexity on its own in theory. Is that accurate?
Yeah, well, so I really only use the Perplexity app, and I don't even pay that much attention to the details on it. I just go in and search. I don't even pay attention to what tool it's using or anything. There's different levels to it. I use the free one, and I literally only do it to keep my other chats clean. And it will go source the information. There is 2 different paid versions. And I think once you get into the paid versions, you can choose which one you want it to, which tool you want it to use, but it will use all of them. It has them all. Now they have Perplexity Computer, and that's like $200 a month. It's great, but I don't think it's worth, I think if you're going to spend that money, you should use Claude Cowork or Claude Code types of things. But again, it's really finding out, everyone has different needs. And I just Perplexity real basic just to keep everything organized because I'm way too ADD not to be extremely organized.
Yeah. And then with Notebook LM, I think one of the things to really highlight with Notebook LM is just the ability to produce incredibly well-researched documents. So, if you're a business that is looking to do a fundraising deck and you need to find competitor information, pricing models, all of the things that you really need if you're going to go about a fundraising round, or if you want to do a sales kit for your product, Notebook LM is stellar at providing sourced research and looking at all of the different ways that you can turn that into usable information. I think it's pretty outstanding.
I can give you some examples here too. So when I go in here, I've done so many different, all over the place type things, but like this was one on an example of how Klarna failed with their AI integration. And when you in here, you do your deep research, and from that deep research, you can create slide decks, mind maps, infographics, quizzes, video overviews, audio overviews, data tables. I mean, really, it's unlimited. And here's just an example of something I've created just messing around. But this is a deck it created just based off the information. I mean, the amount of time this saves you is incredible. I mean, I've created a lot of pitch decks, and I mean, especially for raising capital and all those things, and it takes a week alone in designing and everything. It's just it creates this, and I mean, within 10 minutes you can have this. That includes your deep research.
Right. And the structure. I mean, that's the thing I find it so useful. And as you were saying, this is such a great tool for beginners to really understand, because it kind of allows people to dip their toe in how to talk to AI, which I think is a really important thing. That it's, even though everybody says it's just voice understanding and you just sort of like write regular language, that's so false.
Oh, yes.
There's a very nuanced approach of how you actually have to speak to AI in order for it to actually output the things that you need. So with Notebook LM, having the ability to actually just say, like, I want to find out information about this. And then you start to learn through the building of whatever those tools are, whether you're building a slide deck or a video or whatever the things are that you want to pull out of Notebook LM. That's where you have to start training yourself to converse with AI to get it to do what you want it to do. It's not as simple as people think.
Well, and that's again, they're going to think you're reading my mind, or that we plan this. But Notebook LM to me is one of the tools I think is the most important to start with. I mean, besides your top 3 large language models, Notebook LM is the one that can really make the most difference in terms of like stuff that you can do right now for business. And so that one's important. Now, when I was putting this together, I was researching like the top business uses for AI. And so these are what we get, this is what the list it gave me: writing and emails, social media content, summarizing documents, brainstorming and problem solving, customer response drafts, market and competitor research, SOPs and training manuals, proposals and templates. But for me, I don't think there's anything that I do in business, period. And yes, I am in AI. I understand that I'm in AI, but even if I wasn't, because I do my entire business model is AI integrations for business. There's not anything that we do in business that can't be touched by AI. I mean, the majority of the stuff that I do, deep research is one of the best tools in any of these. It's different than just asking your questions. You got your deep research. Google Gemini is now integrated in Gmail, and it's always correcting my emails because I'm a very lazy email writer. So it's always making me sound way more intelligent than I am. I am lazy with my research. So like when I'm doing my research and I've got a freaking PDF that's 100 pages, I don't want to read that. I'm going to upload that into AI and tell it to summarize, which is also something I do with YouTube. So I watch YouTube videos all the time, but a lot of those are an hour, 2 hours long. I don't want to do all that. And you can use AI to literally just go in and summarize an entire, all the transcripts and just teach you what you're supposed to learn in 5 minutes instead of 2 hours. That's something. Any amount of brainstorming, creating documents, market research, just anything. Literally, AI touches everything.
And I feel like from the perspective of where we sit in terms of this particular cohort, and then just as we were talking about these smaller businesses, which I think really is where we need to help hold those hands. But if you're an owner of a business and you are thinking about any sort of expansion in your business, regardless of what that looks like, maybe it's creating a branded, Heather's part of a Mexican restaurant. Delicious, by the way. Let's give a little shout out. El Segundo in Vail. It's great.
Nice.
Delicious. But let's just, is it okay, Heather, if we use El Segundo as a little example?
Yes. Yeah, of course. I love that.
Okay. So let's just say that El Segundo as a business was like, we need to expand. And it's not that we necessarily want to open another restaurant right now. Maybe we start to jar our salsa and it's like homemade, fresh from our chefs. And how do we go about that? And if you are the owner of that business, you are managing your staff, you're consistently training, you're managing the marketing, you're managing the financials, you're looking at understanding the scope of all of the pieces that run with that. You've got your inspections. I mean, there's so many things that as a business owner, particularly running a restaurant, you're not necessarily going to sit there and say, oh, let me now dedicate my next 10 days to researching how I can turn my business into a more profitable engine. I want to make more money because as we see, people might be spending less on going out. So how do we become a little bit more recession proof in what we offer? So what are those things? So when you have these tools available to you and you decide, I need to start recognizing my competitive information. What are my competitors doing to increase their profitability? What are the things that are happening in terms of training? How can I make myself more efficient so that I have more time to focus on operating the business instead of or growing the business instead of doing the business, and particularly as the owner CEO, that's always where you have to put your output is how do you keep growing? How do you stay relevant in markets that are constantly shifting and changing? And so being able to use tools like Notebook LM or Perplexity or any of these other things that are at the fingertips, that's where you start to shine as a business, is that you can start to say, all right, let me see, is it viable for us to jar the salsa or to brand our corn chips or, create to-go models of these things? Or do we get into the grocery store with frozen foods and say it's El Segundo catering or what, it's like an arm of it, whatever it is, that if you're just doing the day-to-day, you have no capacity to be able to do those things at all. But then you just sort of plug it in and you're like, let me find out this information. Let me just ask it. Let me see what it says. And then it comes back to you with this like giant infographic of this is all of your competitors. This is what you're doing here. Here's an opportunity for growth here. It changes the way you can function in your business and
Okay.
is that
I almost
you
caught him.
see you know what it is that you're able to do. So you know,
I think
I just want to just say one thing there is like, this is where this is all so interesting to me because like we, you know, do these things, but we use like our internal data systems to like, okay, what's not selling and how do we, you know, reconfigure our menu based on that and, you know, no food waste. And we just look at it in such different views that like and I know Cameron, my husband, who's in the restaurants almost every day, doesn't even know half of these tools like exist to help us. And like, first of all, are we gonna get a copy of this? Like, can I have this slideshow? Because like this is how I didn't even know about Notebook LM. So like, there's things that I would just like to
play
look
with.
at more. Yeah, and play with. Yeah.
So what I think is cool is the fact that you said, okay, let's use the restaurant example, because what's great about that one is that's not by any means on the top of the list of where you would think that like AI would help, right? In a restaurant, that would be more one of the ones like, how does that even help at all? But honestly, just in the example she gave, and it's not even scaling, it's just in even normal business operations. And how can we researching content creation, and how can we do a better marketing plan? Because we can always get better no matter how good we are, right? You know, researching restaurant trends or trends in the area. I mean, especially if we got all the health issues going on these days, and you know, we're really looking at microplastics and more organic, non-processed ingredients, right? Really researching how you can implement those things without affecting the quality of the product, or new ingredients, new recipes. I mean, you could even take a picture of the restaurant and literally, and I've done this with, you know, my parents, or they inherited an extra house, and I was giving them remodeling ideas for the bathroom, and I took a picture of it and I said, okay, you know, for a modern farmhouse, give us ideas for this bathroom, and literally printed it, did the exact same bathroom but remodeled. I mean, you know, you have all the redundant admin work, which is, you know, very time consuming, but it can help with all that stuff. But also, even like you said, you guys use all your internal data. AI can analyze all your internal data.
That's what I was just going to say. You know, Heather, like you guys can download your sales data over the last year, right? Or even 2 years, so that, you know, the longer you have, the better the better AI can assess, like the more data that you're able to input.
I mean, we have everything from day one on both restaurants. I mean, we're very
right. So you can take all of that and, you know, separate it into the different locations. You can take all of that and say, okay, look at this data. Here's our sales data that shows, you know, how many tacos of what flavor you sold. I mean, it will analyze all of that for you, put it into a chart, and give you suggestions on where you can make changes, how you can restructure the menu. I mean, it can tell you how to do all of those things.
Can I ask a question then?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Personal, like a little bit. We're looking at potentially another spot. Like if we were to get like correct P&Ls and things like that, we could totally put that in and get
more.
You could even do a serious in-depth analysis of the traffic in that area. I mean, and a tool I'm going to give you later on is going to help with that.
Okay. That was my next question. Like, what would you use?
Yeah, I already created one to help with a lot of this stuff. So,
okay.
It's really, I mean, you could even, anything that you're working on or you're even thinking about doing, you can go into AI and say, hey, I run this business. This is what we're thinking about. How can we use AI to help us with this? Whatever. I mean, there's literally nothing it can't help with. I'm not saying that it can do everything. I'm saying there's nothing it can't help with.
Yeah.
Well,
again, it goes with the aiding on what you are putting into it. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
more
and the
that
tools are there, right? The tools are available, and it's really, as Ryan had said already, junk in, junk out, but gold in, gold out. So it also is like, if you've got all of this information, and when you're looking at expansion in your own business, literally thinking about opening another location, you can put all of that information into it and say, these are our trends. What do we need to look at? It can do research for you, as Ryan also mentioned, in terms of traffic, what to expect in the area, competitive analysis. It will do all of that for you, so that as you make a decision about this new location, you'll go into it not only knowing what your projections are, how, like, realistic projections of, like, this is what I need to make the first month, this is where we need to be, and how do you do that?
Yeah.
So then it can also spit out the suggestions of marketing and where to put those pieces of marketing and content for social media. I mean, it can provide all of that for you. So you take so much of the guesswork out of it. And that's where, in my opinion, sort of going back to the initial conversation, when you use AI for its highest and best use, you're going to get its highest and best out of it. If you're going to use AI just to be like, I just kind of want to write a blog, and that's all you're going to do with it, you're not going to, it's not going to give you the things that you're not necessarily, that's not its highest and best use. So yeah, I mean, I think it's expanding your understanding and recognizing, yes, there are all of these tools out there to be able to help define the way that businesses operate.
and using the blog as another really good example. So like this is how you can also show another way I can show the difference on good use versus bad use. So like where most people will use it is say, hey, research this topic and then write me a blog. And then literally that'll be the prompt, right? So it'll research it and it'll write a blog, and they have AI detection and everything, and it hurts. I mean, not only are some people like really starting to learn like what words AI uses that we don't normally use in conversation. Like I've never even heard the word embark until ChatGPT used it on every freaking paragraph. And they also have different spaces that they use for AI documents than we use in our typical stuff. So like, but there are tools as you get more advanced, and this is why it's a tool, is that you can do your research, and then you can have another tool, like whether it's a skills or GPT or whatever, that turns that research into it and then audit it and to make sure that it's not detectable. And so like you can write blogs with it, but it's a hell of a process versus the lazy way most people will do it. So it just highlights the skill factor involved in all that. So going to the next one, let's see here. All right. So the top reasons people fail with AI, and poor prompting is by far number one. And that your prompting is, the messages that you're typing into any AI model, the instructions you're giving it. That's by far number one. And number two is not keeping up with AI and learning all the new tools. Because I mean, literally there's a client that I just created a system for them to convert all of their installation manuals into installation videos using AI. And just in that small window of time, they created new tools that you can do all your editing with AI. Now, I don't like to jump on the front end of any of them. I like to let them dial it in a little bit more. So I haven't integrated that in, but it's always something to keep in mind too, is everything you're learning, keep it agile so you can just add the extra pieces on. With the prompting, so I created a tool that actually does the prompt architecture for everybody, because Now we touched on the Klarna example in that notebook LM. Klarna is a huge company that spent millions of dollars replacing their entire customer service program with AI. And it's noted as the biggest failure for AI. And people love to sit there and talk about how AI failed. But really, AI did not fail. They failed to implement it correctly. And a lot of these people are using developers instead of AI systems architects to help them develop these programs. And developers don't understand business. So when they go and create these things, like in this case, they spent millions of dollars, replaced all of their customer service, and they built it based on the KPI for lower ticket times. Well, so when you do lower ticket times with a computer, obviously it's going to piss off a lot of customers. And it was a disaster. And they had to go back and hire everyone back. And they lost millions on this. And it's literally because in the prompt for the AI agents, they didn't put in the proper context and intent. They used the wrong KPIs. And that's why it's also important not to just buy tools, is to have people that really understand your business to help integrate. And so in this, I created, instead of teaching everybody how to prompt correctly, I kind of just created a tool that people can just tell what they're trying to do and then answer the questions that it'll ask, and then it'll create you the prompt that you can then copy and paste into a new chat to do exactly what you're trying to do. And just an example here. Let me share this. Again, I'll share this link, but I'm going to do just a really horrible job here just to show. But like in this case, let's see, do a market research report for a new restaurant in the Vale area. So I'll just put in something as basic as that. Normally that would be a horrible prompt, but it saves me. And it'll come out and ask questions. The better that I answer the questions and not be lazy, the better it's going to give you a prompt in the other. So it comes out, and you know what? I'm going to let you answer these questions because you're going to know.
Did you build it? Did you build this over the chat?
So this is a GPT
architecture.
Yeah, I built this.
And you put this as a GPT?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's super cool.
I also have one built in Gemini. I have a gem for the same thing, but
Cool.
I can share this link with people so that anyone can have access to this and do the exact same thing, because prompting is so important and it's such a specialized skill that it's just better to give people the tool to do it, because it's that important and that complex, really.
But I also would say let's not have Heather answer this, just because
this is going on. Yeah,
like this could be public information, and so I'd rather keep.
So let me just make up some stuff.
Private.
That was a great catch there.
Yeah.
What kind of restaurant is this? I'll just say Greek restaurant. Who is the part of the owners? Even answering this as horribly as I'm answering this, do not do this. Give it like really good information. Let's see. I would want to say solid business report. And whoops. Who do you want to serve most? Locals.
Travelers. Oh, locals are fine.
I'll just make it up, and again, I gave it a horrible example there. That's the worst prompting you can do. It'll ask me more questions because it's going to make sure I have it built in to make sure it asks the questions so it doesn't give you some BS answers. So just say Vale Village. Most best location. I don't even know.
When I have done things like I have written kitchen manuals, things like that from ChatGPT. But I really do. I mean, I have to say that's probably one thing I'm really good at is like explaining a lot of detail.
Oh, that's
And
good.
then, you know, when you get something, I'm like, no, I don't like this. Please do this. And, you know, I feel like it has worked for me so far, but I just didn't know the depth of things that I could
Well, if you
do.
really get into it, because like, and it's getting more and more complex. Nate B. Jones is a guy I really follow because he explains a lot, but he gets into some very technical stuff. Prompt engineering now is broken down into context engineering, intent engineering, and specification engineering. And I broke all that into this. You know, it just keeps asking me questions, but let's see. Just
You were too vague.
exactly, which
Yeah.
is great because and so I just want to give a good example here. Let's see. NNA. I didn't even read that last one. I just wanted to do it. And then I make it approve. It's going to give me an outline. But see how it breaks it down: intent, context, specification.
I mean, part of me does like have that internal feeling like this is cheating. But it's productivity, right? And
Exactly. It's not cheating.
Yeah.
It's called winning.
It is called winning, really.
Well, I mean, the thing is that it's funny that you feel that way, and we can explore why you feel like it's cheating.
Yeah, I might need that.
Call,
But I
coffee
still need to schedule.
right. I mean, that's, you know, that's an interesting statement, because if you're not doing it, somebody else is. And
Yeah.
so, you know, it really is winning. It's not, because there are people that are going to come in and swoop right underneath you, and you're going to be like blindsided because you're like, wait, how did that happen? And you're like, oh, because we didn't use the tools that are available to us, and somebody else did, you know? And so it's, you know,
Well, time is really money too. And like, you know, if I were to sit down and type out the kitchen manual, I mean, that could take a couple of days, you know, whereas you do it here and it's like, boom, it's done really in 5 to 10 minutes if you give it the right info.
Mm-hmm.
And efficiency matters. I mean, everything that we do, it's all about boosting revenue and becoming more efficient. And if we don't integrate that into all of our businesses, and it doesn't matter what business you're in, we will not be able to compete in the long run.
Right. Yeah.
Now, this does take a little bit, but when you see the level of prompt it creates, I mean, I use this all the time myself, because why am I going to spend all this time trying to think through my prompt when I can just, I'll have like 3 windows open and I'm doing 3 different things. And so I'm creating prompts in one, research in the other, and I'll, you know, I do this all day long. It's almost done here. The longer it thinks, the better too, especially with like this type of stuff. I like to make sure that it's really done correctly. The fast stuff I avoid on most things unless I'm just doing a typical internet search.
But as we're continuing to watch this, you know, I think that the main focus, and it's great, Heather, that, you know, we can use your restaurant as an example of all of these reasons why these kinds of tools become incredibly valuable from an efficiency standpoint, from a research standpoint, all of these things that change the direction of your ability to operate in your business.
Wow, this is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's going to put together this level of a prompt. I mean, let's just be honest. I know I'm not. And so it maps out the steps. I mean, everything it needs in the very, I mean, it did research just to even create the prompt correctly.
Yeah.
So this is now creating this prompt, and you'll put this prompt into
then you can take this same prompt, even though this is in ChatGPT, you can take the same prompt to Claude, Gemini, or anyone, whatever tool you think would be best.
You can put it anywhere.
So all I do now is I just copy that and then new chat.
Huh.
And then boom. So
I can't wait to get home.
and I'll share that. I know you'll tell me the best way we can share that, but this way it's literally just a link that anyone can go to, and then you can save it in the sidebar of ChatGPT. So anytime you go there, it'll be sitting there. So this is the YouTube channel that I watch every single Friday. He comes up with all the newest stuff in all the AI tools. He runs examples. This guy does a really good job of explaining it, not in a complex developer level, but in a user level. So I watch him every single week just for that. And that's pretty much, so I had this put together as in like next steps, right? And obviously everyone's at different levels. It says pick one AI tool. Personally, I think that everyone should have a free Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, and Notebook LM account and really learn the differences in those. I think that's important. Other things that I think is important is definitely watching Matt Wolf's videos, but going into YouTube and doing a lot of research on Notebook LM, because that's going to be one of the biggest difference makers. And even Claude Cowork is another one I should have probably added into this. Claude Cowork is ridiculous in terms of how much it can help you. So I think that really looking at those will make the biggest difference.
Cool.
And yeah.
Well, so this is great. And I think that it's been really valuable. I do think that, we will provide at the end of this, as we post this to the website, it will have context in terms of all of the things that we've talked about, the different worksheets, the kind of the how-tos of all of these different components. And then, we'll post your contact information on there as well. And then maybe, Ryan, we could even add the link to your GPT into that information as well, which we'll be able to put out. But we'll talk about that offline.
Even just do the, yeah, however you want to do that works. And I know that I kept this real beginner level. I mean, there's obviously we can do future ones on some more advanced concepts, like creating, on GPTs and gems and skills and Claude, all those different things. But I feel like this one is about,
for me, this is my level.
Yeah.
So
well,
perfect.
I think most business people is that, and that's why I didn't want to go too far with it. We can do other ones later, but I think this one had to be separated like it is. Do you feel like I missed anything?
Me?
Yeah. Or do you guys have any questions?
Hello, let me check ChatGPT to see what I should be asking right now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how you do it. And there's really no shame in that. Like literally, I'm in AI and I use AI all day to try to tell me what I should be analyzing or how, because I don't care how good we are at anything, we're always going to miss something. So why wouldn't we want that extra input?
I use AI to talk to AI.
Yeah, absolutely. All the time.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. You're talking about lovable.
All the things, even
all
Claude, all of it. It's not just lovable, but anyway, this was awesome. And Ryan, thank you so much for the time. I'm really excited to get this posted and offered to the rest of the cohort who wasn't able to make it and our greater alchemy community. And, if anyone does have questions, your contact information will be in all of the stuff that we post. So I appreciate the time very much. And if there's no other questions, then, we can sign off.
All right. And I'll send over.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll email you over right now the link to that GPT just so you can send that out if you want it.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Bye.
Thank you.